like to take a second and just talk about the nunte, or nunti, however you prefer to pronounce it. Basically, what you have is a standard straight rokushaku bow here, and on the end of it you have a manji sai with one hook down and one hook up, and a straight point towards the middle here. Now, historically speaking, this would be sharp on the end, however, generally not bladed on the sides. And whenever you start using one of these for the first time, you're always very shocked by how heavy it is. And also how the point of balance is not the same as with the bow. So when I'm using a bow, generally speaking, I can use it in such a fashion that I can transition and not have to worry about one edge over the other. It's very center balanced. However, with the nunte, it's obviously much less center balanced. So you have to keep one hand up much higher this way in order to compensate, and then one further back here, and maybe even a little higher up if you're using curling techniques. Now, I'm not going to be killing toning with this today. Basically, we're just going to be taking it nice and easy, and I'd like to show you some of the pulling and pushing techniques that can actually be used with this, and it's very versatile. Remember that the nunte can be used for killing, or it can be used for ensnaring and controlling. So it depends whose hands it was in. If it was the paging class who was using it to keep ruffians and drunks under control, they wouldn't want to kill right away. So there's some tactics that you can use and change depending on your goals with this one. So the beginning of one of our kata basically very simply comes out here this way. We come out, we do a half twist and down, come back up, and then we take it around the shoulder and we push out in this fashion here. Okay? Now, you can get a little silly with some of the bunkai and suggest that you're deflecting something and creating this dynamic motion and poking a guy in the eye behind your head, but really that's not very realistic at all. We're talking about a live combat situation. What that's trying to teach you is how to go from a casual position, just walking along in this fashion, how to create a defense right away and change that immediately into an ensnare tactic, followed by a thrusting, either control to the ground tactic or kill tactic. That's really what you're trying to show there. So let's look at the defensive block first. So let's say in this first instance we have a disgruntled peasant who has a problem with us. We've been taking more than our share of the tariff, or what have you. So he's going to come in and he's using what's handy, and that happens to be a bow. So what he's going to do is he's going to use an overhead strike to the head, right? And I'm going to deflect out this way here. Now, I don't want to kill him right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hook end this way to come in and pull him down to the ground. Okay? You'll notice I've controlled him this way. Now, it's quite a simple task to just come up and now use either the point edge or the hook edge to drive him further to the ground. Now, I can pin him to the ground, or I can leave him be, or whatever I need to do. So it's a very simple tactic to pull and push this way. Now let's look at it again. Let's say he thrusts straight in, okay? And I create my defense here this way. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of working the arm, I'm going to come behind the head here and pull down. Now please understand this is very unpleasant. So we're going light, okay? This way. And now I'm using my time to control down, or if I need to use the point edge to kill, then I'm doing as such. So you'll notice very simply, we have this long weapon, so we have length advantage. Okay? We can take a surprise attack and we can immediately transfer it into a control situation. Now, if you need to do something more lethal, let's say this is a person who clearly is looking to harm you, and you happen to be just finishing your fishing for the day, and he's coming in and he's doing a straight style thrust. I can deflect and I can immediately transfer into a killing technique. Okay? So it's much more beneficial that way as well. Now, if I happen to see it coming and we sort of square off, which is a little less likely, I can use a little bit more of a distance here this way, and I can even begin to control the weapon down and hook the weapon around. I can even push up this way and push the weapon back into it. So you can see how that can occur as well. Now, let's say the situation is a little different and he has a short-range weapon. Let's take a knife, for example. Okay? So if he's using a knife, I immediately want to use the length to my advantage, especially if I happen to be a peacekeeper and I don't want to kill him. Okay? So there's a couple different ways that I can ensnare him. The first is if he thrusts in, right? I can smack him on the arm, bang, okay? Maybe fracture the wrist a little bit, it doesn't matter. then I can come up. Now, if he has long sleeves, I can control the sleeve down and pin his knife hand into the ground. Okay? Now that's difficult to do on the fly. If you have enough practice, you can do it though. Another option is if he comes in, right, I can smack his arm, smack him in the head right there, bang. And I can also move into his shirt and start to ensnare his clothing down into the ground this way. And you'll notice I've maintained his arm pinned into his body. Now these are all options if I don't want to kill him. So in order to do that effectively, I insert and twist and push. So the twisting is a very important part of that whole cycle. Okay? Now if I happen to need to kill him and he does that same, I can then keep my distance and basically, you know, finish it quite easily. So if he decides to approach me and I have this and he has a knife, then he may not be the smartest guy to begin with, so I can either finish him off or choose to preserve his life. That's my choice. Thank you.